There are some poems that feel less like words on a page and more like a place you can actually visit. Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening is definitely one of those places. So let's step into this quiet, snow-filled world together and really explore that powerful feeling, that tension between a moment of perfect stillness and the pull of the journey that's still ahead. And right away, the poem just pulls you in with this gentle, almost secretive thought. The speaker knows who owns this land, sure, but he also knows he's completely alone. This isn't about trespassing, it's about a private moment, a quiet connection with the falling snow that nobody else needs to know about. So the first thing we really need to get is the act itself. This is a deliberate pause, a moment that's been carved out from a much longer journey. Now, what's really interesting here is the sense of solitude. This moment isn't for anyone else to see. It's this stolen, personal experience, unobserved, unjudged. The speaker is just having a pure, reflective moment that belongs only to him, and, of course, to the winter landscape. Frost even gives us a specific timestamp. Literally, this is the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. But metaphorically, well, it suggests something much deeper, doesn't it? This is a time of profound quiet, a turning point where darkness is at its absolute peak before the light slowly starts to return. It's just the perfect setting for some deep thinking, maybe even with a touch of melancholy that just kind of hangs in the cold air. But the speaker isn't entirely alone, is he? He's got a companion, his horse, who introduces the very first hint of conflict. It's this tension between just being in the moment and plain old common sense. And we see it in the very next stanza. The horse, well, the horse is all about practicality. For an animal driven by instinct, stopping for no good reason in the middle of nowhere on the coldest night, it just doesn't make any sense. It's this simple animal logic that's questioning the very human act of pausing to simply be. And that word right there, queer, is so important. It's like the outside world's perspective is starting to break in. The horse, which really embodies nature and practicality, finds this moment of human reflection strange. And this creates this gentle push and pull, the desire to stay versus the instinct to just keep moving. And this just illustrates that tension perfectly. Imagine it. That little shake of the harness bells is the only man-made sound in the whole poem, other than the wind. It's like a small, gentle question. Hey, are you sure about this? Shouldn't we be going? It's a callback to reality, a little tug back to the journey.
But what is it that holds the speaker here, against all practical sense? This next part, well, it gets right to the very heart of the poem's magnetic, irresistible pull.
This line is one of the most famous in all of American poetry, and for a really good reason. It's almost hypnotic, isn't it? In just 5 words, Frost captures the entire allure of this moment, the whole reason for the pause in the first place. So let's break this down for a second. Lovely is that surface beauty, the visual appeal, but dark and deep, they pull us into something much more profound. Dark hints at the mystery, the great unknown, and deep gives us that immersive feeling, the allure of being completely surrounded by the quiet. There's a really seductive quality here, a promise of peace that feels almost overwhelming. And just as the pull of the woods is at its strongest, the poem turns. The world of responsibility makes its final, decisive call. But that one word, this is the pivot on which the entire poem just swings. It's the voice of duty, of obligation, of all our connections to the human world. As tempting as it is to just surrender to those lovely, dark, and deep woods, the speaker has responsibilities that are pulling him forward. And right here, you can see the central conflict laid out perfectly. On one side, you have the seductive peace of the woods, solitude, beauty, rest. And on the other, the demands of the world, promises, obligations, and that long journey home. It's the eternal struggle we all feel, right? Between stopping and going, between rest and responsibility. This brings us to the poem's unforgettable conclusion, where a simple, repeated line carries the weight of a lifetime. Okay, so on a literal level, this is pretty straightforward. The speaker has a physical distance to travel before he can get to his bed and rest for the night. Simple enough. The journey isn't over yet. But then he says it again. And that repetition changes everything. It transforms the line into this profound metaphor. Suddenly, miles to go becomes the journey of life itself. And sleep, well, sleep becomes that final rest at the very end of it all.
The speaker is acknowledging his duties, the long path of life that he has to walk before he can finally lay down his burdens.
In the end, the poem leaves us with that lingering thought. We all have our own lovely, dark and deep woods, don't we? Those moments that tempt us to pause, to rest, to just let go. But we also have promises to keep. Frost doesn't judge. He simply asks us to see the pull of both. So the final question is really for you. What promises keep you moving? And when do you let yourself stop and just watch the snow?